you've ever asked yourself, how can I get the swing and the golf game that I've always imagined without trying every tip, every training aid, watching every video after video on social media, then this podcast is for you. Welcome. I'm Daniel Guest, and welcome to the IMAGEN Golf Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by IMAGEN Golf and PXG. All right, Imagination, I am super psyched to have almost a man crush on. I've been following Scott for a very long time, right? Scott Fawcett with Decade Golf. Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Absolutely. I always love these conversations, and doing one for the first time, it's always fun because it's typically going to go in a new direction.
Yeah, for sure. I say man crush because I was turned on to Decade Golf and what you were doing probably it might have even been 10 years ago, man, to be honest. When I first started my coaching career, it was fresh, it was new, it was candid, it was straightforward. And that's the way we teach here at IMAGEN Golf. So I was immediately drawn to it, and I've been following you ever since. And first of all, congrats on all the success you've had. It's been, I'm sure, a wild ride. We'll touch on some of that today, but congrats on everything you've done, man.
I appreciate it. It's been fun because it's definitely a game that's brought me a lot of highs and lows, and really kind of accidentally creating a product that is a compilation of all the mistakes I've made and how to help people not make those same mistakes, while also learning for myself what I was doing wrong. It's been really cool. And I mean, as I tell everyone all the time, I really was just trying to help my own game. It was only because of an injury that I caddied for Zalatoris in 2014 at the Texas A&M and US Junior. And then it's pretty convenient that DeChambeau was going to SMU. So to have your first two students be a kid from your home course winds up being Will Zalatoris. And then a friend from my college golf, the coach at SMU, just happens to have a player like Bryson DeChambeau. Like, that's pretty convenient, and to use those two guys as test cases for all the math-based theories was pretty fun. It's been, if you'd have told me in June of 2014, the week before the Texas A&M, that 12 years later I would be here gabbing about the same stuff, I would have been like, what are you talking about?
I know, right? It's kind of like all the planets aligned for you in such a positive way. You couldn't even, Scott and I talked earlier before the podcast. Like, he's a data guy, I'm a marketing guy, and you couldn't even imagine from a marketing perspective. That is like the best thing that could ever possibly happen to you.
I mean,
right?
honestly, it's funny because when Tiger's chip in 2005 hung on the lip with the Nike logo and then fell in,
Yeah.
I've said all the time that if I were watching a movie and that happened, I'd be like, this is so stupid, and just got up and left. Like, there's no way that happened. Give me a break. Write a better script. And I feel pretty much the same way about how this has gone. Again, the idea that I've got all these flags and stuff signed by major champions and everything is just really comical to me because it really was a total accident.
Yeah, it's amazing too. And our trajectories are similar in a sense. I was in corporate America for 30 years. I tried to make the way lower tours out in Southern Florida, man, back in the day. I'm 60, and I think you're in your 50s. And I could shoot 72 in my local muni or with my buddies, but under competition, it ballooned to a 79, 80, whatever, right? And these guys were throwing up 67s and 70s all the time. So competitive golf was not for me, especially at that level, man. And so I went into corporate world, and everyone loves to play golf. All corporate executives love to play golf, especially if you're decent. So that was a total win for me, man. And then when I got out of corporate America, I was like, no, I had this kind of placeholder in IMAGEN Golf, but to be candid, I really didn't even know what I was going to do with it, man. We sold clubs. Remember Crank Golf when it first came out, man? That was our first affiliate agreement, man. And we just sold the heck out of those Crank clubs, especially to, guys that are getting older in the non-conforming version of it. And then today, fast forward, that's 10 years ago, to have 5,500 students and 5 locations. Same thing, man. I look back and I know people when I first started, they can't believe it either. They roll into our facility and they're like, this is yours. They're like, well, you got to be kidding me, man. It's kind of fun.
I don't know if it's the modesty or whatever to recognize how much luck is involved in being successful. But like you said, my dad was choosing between 2 houses when I was in 9th grade, one that was not on the golf course and one that was. If he chooses the other one, I don't get into golf at all. I mean, I just play on the weekend. That decision obviously allows me to go play competitive golf at Texas A&M, play professional golf. But then you talk about the business. When I quit playing professionally in 2001, I started an electricity company, and it was purely because of like being good at golf and playing in scrambles with my customers and using that as an asset, which is the one thing I would tell any kids or collegians listening to this is even if you don't make it as a pro, being good at this game is such an asset for the rest of your life. Fast forward then to when Zalatoris moved from San Francisco to Dallas, the reason they moved is because his dad was the asset manager of the Galleria Mall and other office buildings here in Dallas.
No
He
kidding.
calls me again, Rick Zalatoris, Will's dad, calls me. He's like, "Hey, I'm the new asset manager of a few of your properties. I'd like to meet you." Well, I'm gonna get fired. Like I've got my own guys. Appreciate your help. And I go walking in, and I've got on a Bentry Country Club logo, which is where they had just joined that weekend. And he's like, "Oh, do you play golf?" And, he's like,
Yeah.
"I've got a son that's
A
really
little.
good." And I was like, "Well, here's my chance." I was like, "Well, I'm the club champion and I've, was on the Corn Ferry Tour." And he's like, "I've got a kid that hits the ball like you've never imagined." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. Let's get out and hit some balls. How old is he?" He goes, "Well, he's 9." I'm like, "Oh, give me a break. I'm sure he
Yeah,
stripes it."
exactly.
And then we go out and it's his little Will's golf swing as a 9-year-old was identical to what it is today. Just didn't miss the center of the face. And I was like, "Oh my God, you actually do have
You got
something here."
something here.
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
something here, man. So golf, it's amazing how much it can help you in every aspect of your life.
Yeah, and you're an
Aside from
accomplished
being
golfer,
totally
man.
frustrating.
Yeah, no doubt, right? All right. You're an accomplished like you were on the web.com tour, I think, right? What's his name? Was Stort Sink on there? Did you know Stort when he was down there?
No, no. So I played from '96 through 2001, and I was on the
Got
Hooters
it.
tour, won a couple times on the Hooters tour, played down on the Golden Bear tour, which I'm sure you're familiar with since you mentioned South
Yeah, yeah,
Florida. I
yeah.
basically back played in Asia a little bit, and then I got my amateur status back in 2005, and I mean, the whole story is basically I met Chris Como playing in an underground poker room in 2006, and
Yeah.
he and I started talking poker theory a ton, and then I started applying that to golf and obviously working with him on my golf game. I entered Q school as a 35-year-old amateur in 2008 and got through all 4 stages. I did it on a bet
Yeah.
with a buddy and got through all 4 stages, so I wound up with a Corn Ferry card. So I played in 2009, 10, and 11, but I got very few starts, but more importantly, I was trying to play part-time professional golf with a full-time job running a company and a newborn at home. So, like, that was as bad
Yeah.
of an idea as it sounds like, but it was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's just when I think back, like some of the things that you say resonate so bad and are so contradictory to different coaching that I had throughout my lifespan in golf, right? I just crack up, and I at 60, I often look back and go, if only. I wonder how good I could have been if I had this knowledge or whatever. Is there any of that that resonates with you as well?
100%. I mean, again, I didn't really specialize in golf until about 11th grade. I played all the other sports. I'm a pretty big athletic guy, so I didn't really get
Yeah,
into golf specifically. So I only played in one AJGA in my life. So I actually went
right.
to a small school, Sam Houston State here in Texas for my freshman year, and I was planning on just going there for 2 years and treating it like a JUCO and then transferring. And I won my freshman year, had a couple other top 5, so I was able to transfer that first year. Well, I came home, went to community college for a year and sat out, so I don't play any tournament golf. And then my coach calls me the night before I'm heading to my 3rd year, my redshirt sophomore year, and he's like, "Did you enroll as a full-time student last year?" I'm like, "Of course I did. What do you think I've been doing? Just sitting around hanging out?" And he says, "You gotta come down here and sit out another year unless you graduated." And so I was like, "Well, I didn't graduate." I go to Collin County the next day and I'm like, "What's the closest degree I'm to getting?" And so I took 36 hours the fall of my 3rd year in order to get an associate's degree in economics to then go play at Texas A&M that spring. But then the long story long is I played the fall of my 4th year, and then I broke my leg playing basketball in February of my 4th year of college, and so I didn't even play my last 18 months. So, naturally, what do when you graduate from college? You turn pro. I hadn't touched my clubs in, like, 15 months. I mean, the true story is my birthday is July 4th.
Right.
I went out and I played golf that day for the first time in, like, 15 months and shot, like, 68, and I go have drinks, and I'm watching fireworks and stars in the eyes, and I'm like, "I'm turning pro tomorrow. Why not? This is a
Yeah,
good
I'm there.
idea."
I made it.
And what's funny though is I won my first professional golf tournament 6 weeks later, a Tight Lice Tour event. So I hadn't played golf in 15 months, won a Tight Lice Tour event 6 weeks later. And the ironic thing is my first professional victory was the exact day Zalatoris was born.
That is crazy,
Isn't
man,
that
right?
weird?
Yeah, it really is. Hey, let me ask you a question. We're 10 years apart, man. When I grew up in right outside of Philadelphia, so we only had like our golf. We used to I joke with my son. I have a 26-year-old son. We joke we used to put our clubs away for 4 months. No one does that now, right? Um, But golf, when I was in high school, man, golf wasn't cool, right? You're like,
No.
I remember my grandfather having 2 country club memberships, one at like the Boca Raton Resort down in Florida, right?
Nice.
And a highline course, man, and we would go there and knock it around and have a great time, and people would be like, You're doing what? We're going to play," to your point, "We're gonna play basketball. I'm going to play golf." They're like, "What? What? Why?" You know,
That's
right? Was it cool where you grew up? Was golf cool then?
No, no, and I mean, not
Right.
at all. It was I mean, I hate saying it, but it was for the smaller, nerdier Tom Kites of the world. It just was.
Tom
So,
Kites.
again, in high school, I'm 6 foot and probably 160, so I'm a
Right.
giant for the normal golf population, and that's where I laugh because I get in this argument all the time about the better athletes playing golf right now, and people are like, "It's not." I'm like, "Go look at Corey Pig just go walking down the range, picture the range in 1987
Yeah.
at a tour event, and now go walk down it now." Again, I'm 6'1", 225, and it's not fat. And I am a small dude out there when I'm walking around. It is
Yeah.
unbelievable how big and athletic these guys are. It's just not the same game. And again, circling back to like the idea of distance and bomb and gouge, and people are like, I just hate the modern game. I'm like, I don't care if you want to debate if Tiger or Jack are the goats. Just create your top 10 list of all time. And what's the one common feature of them all? They bombed it. Every
Yeah.
single one of them, relative to their competition of the day, whatever you
Yeah.
want, a caveat you want to put on it, but 100% of them hit it in the top, at least quartile of their field. And that is the
Yeah.
one thing that's always been the case. And it is what it is. Just now that the cat's out of the bag, so everybody's chasing it, which I don't disagree can get a little monotonous, but it's just fun. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I had a chance to play with, Corey Pavin, man, back when he was the rage. I mean, absolutely the rage. And then David Duval not too many years later. And those 2 guys, they're both runners, right? And they had some seemingly ragtag equipment, it looked like anyway by today's standards, right? And obviously, they were amazing players and just murdered the golf ball, right? And never missed twice, right? Put the ball exactly where they wanted it every single time, right? And by the way, their misses were like 2 feet left or right, 3 feet left or right. And it was just so much fun to see the elite level that these guys really were at. And I'm sure today it's even better, right? I mean, the
oh,
equipment the equipment is crazy, the ball's crazy, the courses are, in my opinion, easier, and, the data sets are just off the charts. So, that's a great segue, man. You credit poker well, first of all, you read the book, right? And then you credit
let me
poker.
say one thing on that real quick, because Duval was my man crush back then,
Yeah,
and I missed the Monday qualifier for the Houston Open one year,
okay,
by 2 shots. I go out the next day to watch Duval play 9 holes, and it was the coolest. It's just him and his caddy and me, and I'm
right,
able to hear everything they're saying, I'm able to see it, and he put the golf ball exactly where he told him to every single time. And I drove home from watching that 9 holes. I'm like, "What am I doing? Like, I am kidding
yeah,
myself." It never dawned on me, I don't need to beat him. I need to beat the guy that's like 2 shots worse than him. And then, oh,
yeah,
by the way, he went on to win that tournament by like 12 shots that week. So this dude is in the zone, and it's amazing how much you can just let this one moment impact. I mean, it really impacted me. Like, I'm completely kidding myself here. That's so good, it's ridiculous. Well, yeah, he's number 1 in the world, and he's about to crush the PGA Tour field. So, anywho, carry on.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's absolutely true, man. So, you read Brody's book, right? It's a highlight for you. It probably resonated a lot with you. And then you credit poker, right? The mathematical equations required now to, poker's essentially just that, right? And you credit that. I think you even brought Alex on now as a partner back in like, or on a team, right? So that's hysterical, right? You know,
Alex, who he's
um,
referring to, used to run the biggest online poker training site called Card Runners back during the poker boom. It's actually
yeah,
what's funny, it's actually what the Decade app is based off of. I never would have thought of voicing over, PowerPoints if
yeah.
aside from having been a member at his poker training site, and now he's my COO, so it's kinda cool.
Yeah. That is super, super cool. You're no slouch when it comes to math. You got 3 math degrees, I think I heard, right?
Yep.
So, I mean,
Finance,
you
econ, and stats, but again, that circles back to I wasn't the guy that went to college to go get a bunch of degrees. That once I went I went off to my freshman year with a little bit of AP credits,
Right.
and then obviously I took hours and hours and hours, and then that one semester that I killed 36 hours took care of every prerequisite I needed for everything. And so once I got to A&M, I would have actually had to design a schedule to not get degrees. I would have taken effort to not graduate. So it wasn't like I was some dude that's going to school to try to do this. I just was in school.
Yeah, yeah. So take us back, man. You're onto something, right? The numbers are the numbers, right? You're seeing it work firsthand, but you still got a lot of pushback, I would imagine, right? From the shot shapers and I'm a field player and all that. Walk us through what that was like when you first started.
Yeah, I think the idea of a person being a field player is just synonymous with somebody saying, "I really just don't want to put the effort in to
Mm,
learn this." Because even if you're a
interesting.
field player, you still have to have an ultimate target of where you're trying to get the ball to. Again,
Right,
I'm not a field player, obviously,
right.
so I don't really even understand what that means. Again, like you're saying, I'm feeling and I'm shaping these shots, but
Yeah.
if there's one thing that I firmly believe is that we overwork the golf ball. With the driver specifically, you're only capable of hitting one shot. And I understand people are like, "I can hit both." Like, not well. I mean, you just can't. I mean, there's a reason why guys on tour with the driver specifically 95% of them only hit one shot with it anymore. There are some guys
Yeah,
that try to work it, but when you start trying to work it, you wind up introducing double crosses, not only
yeah,
to the shot you're trying to shape the other way, but even to your stock shot. And that's the biggest problem in golf. It's what makes your shot pattern exponentially larger than just as long as the ball's moving the direction you intended it to, it's probably going to be a functional golf shot. With your irons, because you can change ball positions, you are capable of moving it a little bit because as a fader, I can move the ball back in my stance and kind of artificially shift path to the right a little bit.
yeah,
So it's it's possible, but I do believe that the litmus test to me, if you're thinking about working at the opposite of your stock shot, is the reason you're doing it to get a better look at birdie. And if that's the case,
mhm,
that's never a good enough reason. If you're
yeah,
trying to ride the wind to make some club the right club or something, again, I've played to a +3 or 4 for 10 straight years, and I have not intentionally hit a draw other than with my mini driver in 10 years. And so you can get to a really high level of this game. And I have no doubt in my mind, if I were younger, had more distance and more time to work on my short game, I could get back to a +6 or 7 without being able to hit a draw, which is what DJ is. I mean, there's just a number of
yeah,
guys that it's just not necessary. But then you see a guy like Scotty Scheffler doing it, people are like, "Well, he can do it." I'm like, "He's also number 1 in the world by such a huge margin, it's absolutely
yeah.
comical." I mean, it's sure, if okay, if that's your goal, Joe Public, good luck.
Yeah, go for it. It's so funny we're talking about it. Like we do a lot more playing lessons than ever before, right? And we don't say anything. We have a format that we go through with everyone, and for the first three holes, basically, we don't say anything. We're just observing, and these are not people that just sign up for playing. We know something about them typically. And I'm always amazed, man. They're fading the ball. They're even slicing the ball, and that's their big miss, man. And then we roll up to the fifth hole, and it's a dog leg left on the tee box, and they're setting up and they're trying to hit a draw. And I'm just like, man, what are you doing, man? I don't even need to have any data just to know that this is not going to turn out well,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, it's just I mean, Rory's a unicorn. He does work the driver both ways, but Keith Mitchell's a guy I've worked with for a number of years who's the second best driver of the golf ball behind Rory, and we've discussed, and he's like, "I for sure think Rory would be better if he just stuck to one." And the real point key to that is, okay, Rory draws driver. So his driver is set for 185 ball speed, 14-degree launch, 2,200 RPM, so whatever his optimal numbers are. If he takes
Right.
that same driver and tries to fade it, it's going to be a spinny high
Yeah.
flare. And that's what's
Yeah.
always been weird to me. Anytime he's like, "I'm really gonna commit to the fade this week," and then at the end of the week, he's like, "I just don't like the way it looks." I'm like, "Did you get a driver fit for it?"
Yeah.
I feel like this is a mistake. I mean, again, and maybe he is. I don't know for sure, but it
Right.
certainly doesn't seem like he is. And it's like, of course it doesn't look good. And that's again, you don't do the 9 box drill in a driver fitting. You're hitting the same shot. So by definition, it can't be optimal for both. It cannot be optimal for both ball flights. And so I really thought honestly that was going to be my trump card that was going to end the debate. And then everyone's still just not everyone. Most people are getting it now, but there are definitely still players that are like, I'm going to work the ball both ways with driver. I'm like, good luck.
Hey, don't you feel like the equipment and the balls and everything is set up more than ever for a stock shot? I mean, I I I I used to think I could work the ball, and I remember watching Tiger a bootleg video a long time ago where he talked about building his stance, right? So I went through an era where I was building my stance differently to hit a different shot, and there was something to be said for it. I could definitely open and close my stance, kind of take a different approach on the swing path, and produce a different shot. It wasn't as predictable looking back as I thought it was, but when it was an amazing feeling. But those were days where you had a lot of balls and a lot of different types of equipment that just seemed to be set up differently. Do you think the equipment and everything today is pushing more towards a stock shot?
Uh, uh, what's funny is, if anything, yes, but if anything, if you think back to spinnier golf balls, I think it'd be even more important to have a stock shot,
Yeah, that's a good point.
because the
Yeah,
double cross is gonna be even worse the spinnier the golf
yeah,
ball is.
good point.
Um, and this is what I don't think people really understand is, T so t if we've got our target to hit a fade or a draw, we've got a shift path somewhere between 6 and 8 degrees. So it's either 3 or 4 left or 3 or 4 right. I'm making up these numbers because 'cause I'm not an
Yeah, sure.
instructor, but I feel like that's about right.
Yeah,
Um, and people are like, "Oh, well, you can do that by closing your stance." I'm like, "I understand that. I can move my path 90 degrees to the right by just standing with my back to the target." Like, but the real challenge is the feel of getting the club face on the other side of path. That's what's hard to do. So for me, I can move my path, but I still have to get the driver head to get the face 4 degrees further closed, at
right.
least, than what I'm used to. And
Right.
that feeling of getting the face on the other side of path is the hardest part, in my opinion. Again, with irons and stuff, you can do it because it's got some loft and whatever, but the driver being swung so fast with no loft, it's just a really hard thing to do remotely consistently. And people point to Tiger, like, Tiger, when he was driving in his best in the late 90s, early 2000s, he was literally hitting 70% of his fairways. The people, Hal Sutton and other guys that I've talked to, they're like, he didn't draw a driver. He just hammered fades all day. And that makes a ton of sense to me. Once he started trying to work the driver both ways with Haney was when he started hitting foul balls both directions. And it's just, again, it's just a really, really hard and again, basically unnecessary thing to do.
Yeah. You put a lot of credence in Tiger's 5, if you would, right? You're that was almost tailor-made to validate, like, everything that you do. I think Tiger, I don't I've only met him one time, and he just doesn't give me the presence that he's like this propeller head, bright the second you meet Bryson, you know immediately he's a propeller head, right? I don't think Tiger, was like that back in his premier days, right? But he's speaking from incredible amounts of history and stuff like that, right? Um, do you think that if he had the data that he had, or if the data was available to him today that it was back then, would he be even better, man? Would he not tinker as much with his swing, you think?
It's interesting because I would love to really know more of what happened with him and Butch and, just really, really what was going on in Tiger's head on that, because you're just not gonna hit it better than that. I mean, like, that's as good as it gets, and I understand he had a
Right,
lot of success with Haney also. I mean,
right,
but he didn't drive it as well, that's just for sure. He did not drive it as well with Haney.
right.
And again, people, like, point to strokes gained numbers. We don't have strokes gained from when he was driving it
Yeah,
off the
yeah, that's a
chart
good
in the
point.
late '90s, early 2000s. So, yes, he was crushing the fields in '05, but I mean, I wouldn't if he was +2 off the tee in the late '90s, it would not surprise me. I mean, it
Yeah,
was just
which is
that
crazy to think, right?
I mean, it's just unbelievable how good he was with the driver back then.
Yeah.
And so just really, I mean, when he won the Masters in 2019, again, Tiger, hey, I'm the biggest fan ever. Here's your signed hat. Big fan. But when you won the Masters in 2019, now I'm addressing it directly when you won the Masters. Tiger, let me tell you something. When you won the Masters in 2019, you got
Exactly, because 'cause he'll be listening to this.
I mean, you got very, very lucky. He double crossed it all over the planet that week and got away with it. 13, I think it was Saturday, he snap hooked it off the trees back into the fairway, left. 14, he snap hooked it into the trees twice and birdied it both times from crazy punch shots. I mean, those three things alone right there were 5 shots. I mean,
Yeah.
and so the reason he hit 3-wood on 18 because he didn't know where the driver was going. He didn't think he could get it through the chute. And even though he knew he couldn't get 3-wood to the corner if he hit it in the right side of the fairway, he's like, "Well, I can hit a little punch cut foreign up there. I fixed my chipping yips with Como. I'll flop this thing up there to 12 feet and two putt it for bogey and win." Like, he was not gonna hit the trees and make triple with the
Yeah.
way he went, and that's exclusively because he didn't know where the driver was going.
Yeah. Um, I've been a coach now for 10 I've been a coach for almost 35 years. I coached ice hockey for 25 years, man. One of the things you said a long time ago resonated, and we actually did it before, I was listening to you, but we used to get with our players, especially our better golfers, right? At guys that are trying to make, some type of level of amateur tours, and we would get with them after a tournament, and not normally during a tournament, but normally after, and we'd sit down, have dinner with them or a lunch with them and walk through, like, what were you thinking here, looking back and really have a heart to heart, if you would, outside of the competitive nature. And you talk a lot about that. Yeah, if I was going to think about one thing that Decade does for you, is it makes you smarter and it gives you, believe it or not, a psychological advantage, in my opinion, because if you feel more confident about the shot you're going to hit and the thing you're about to accomplish, you're inherently better at it, even if you miss. Is that a fair assessment, do you think, of Decade?
I mean, 100%. I mean, understanding why you picked a target allows you to play more committed to it. And the best story, you
Right.
mentioned Stuart Sink earlier. I say all the time that winning on the PGA Tour, 2% win rate is literally me saying, pull the ace of spades out of a deck of cards. It's just really
Exactly.
difficult to do. A
Right.
5% win rate is Hall of Fame. I mean, so
Yeah.
just it's incredibly difficult. I mean, again, a 2% win rate is basically winning every other year on tour, which
Yeah.
is insane. I mean,
Yeah.
it's insane to
Yeah.
to pull that kind of win rate off. We got a lot of great players that haven't even won on tour yet.
Yeah.
But so Stuart Sink wins the British Open in 2009. I think 2009. He then goes 12 years without winning. But what I will say is if you're good enough to never lose your card, you should win in 12 years.
Yeah.
And he bought the Decade app, literally just straight out of the app store, and he had his son watch the videos twice, like all the content, and then just played him like a video game the next week, and he won in Napa. So he didn't win in
Yeah.
12 weeks. The week he won was the week after. Then he wins 6 months later in Hilton Head, and they asked him specifically about it. And, in Hawaii the next year, they were like, "What's going on?" He's like, I subscribe to the same thing that all these young players do. I've fully am invested in it. It allows me to play more committed to my targets. I understand why I picked them. But more
Right.
importantly, like, you don't even need experience anymore. You can just buy it for $300. Like, there's just no you don't need to waste years. It's just right here. Here's how it works. And the interesting thing, again, with another Stuart Sink story, the smartest guy I've ever met is a guy, well, second smartest now, William Knauf is, but the original smartest guy I ever met is a guy named Jeff Fahrenbrook, who played golf at Texas. And they were playing in a golf tournament at Dornick Hills. And this was a tournament where all five guys, he played for Texas, all five guys played in the same group. And my buddy Robbie
Right.
Skinner was with them. And they came to him on the 18th hole. Fahrenbrook was right around the lead. And they're like, "Hey, Stuart Sink just posted his score. Do you want to know what it is?" And he's like, "I don't care." And they're like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You can tell me or not. It's not going to change what I do." And Robbie told
Yeah,
me, he's like,
that's amazing.
yeah, and Robbie always told me, he's like, "I thought it was so weird that he was truly oblivious, totally indifferent as to knowing." And he's like, "Now that I understand what you teach, it makes sense. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do the same thing because my birdie rate, proper strategy, air quotes, decade strategy, will not result in more birdies. It can, just because you're going to play more committed to your targets, but structurally it shouldn't. But it will eliminate your bogeys. Or not eliminate, reduce your
Yeah.
bogeys, which is where your scoring average, the vast majority of your improvement comes from. I mean, circling back to Scotty and Tiger, their first few years on tour, both of them, they were top 5 in birdies, which when you do that consistently, it shows you can control your golf ball. But then they
Right.
were also having like a 15 and 16% bogey rate, which is like 60th and 70th on tour, which shows you're probably playing too aggressively. Both of them, when Tiger hired Steve Williams, who I think is probably the best caddy in history, I think
Yeah.
Stevie got on his butt about, "Hey, man, what you're doing is wrong," after just a couple months.
By the way, he's an amazing golfer.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and Tiger's bogey rate dropped from 15, 16% down to 11% basically overnight, and it hovered there for the rest of his career, which
Yeah.
reducing that 4 or 5% is 0.75-ish shots. when Scotty hired Ted Scott, who I worked with for 5 years while he was with Bubba, I told Ted, I'm like, he's doing the same thing as Tiger. He makes a ton of birdies, but a ton of bogeys. If you clean that up, this kid's going to be good. And I didn't think they'd do what he's done, but I 100%. And their bogey rate dropped from 15, 16% overnight to 10 and 11%. Again, yes, he made 0.225 more birdies per round pre and post Ted, but the vast majority of his improvement has come from avoiding bogeys.
Yeah, man. I credit a lot of our success, my personal success or belief in myself, if you would, to a lot of things that you said over the years. Like we do a lesson recap in writing after every session. And that was, groundbreaking back in the day, right? The report that we do after a playing lessons is like 6 pages, right? And I remember like in the header sometimes just writing like, stop doing stupid stuff. Right. And put that in quotes. Right. And I remember you saying that. I swear to God, it was like a decade ago. And that just resonated with me. And it resonates with most golfers because they know. And then it's just that's not it. Right. But that's like part of the whole process, if you would. I remember another time we had a golfer. We have a pretty decent junior program. And this girl, actually, it was a young kid at the time, probably 12 years old guy. And he was playing in all these different Hurricane Junior Tour events, right? And he was so worried about proximity to the hole, and all this. But we'd miss a lot of greens in regulation, right? And I remember one tournament just saying to him, hey, man, let's just focus on just that, right? And you know where I'm going with this. We immediately scored better. We didn't win anything, but we immediately scored better. And that was, again, just more validation, that what I was doing was starting to, be the right thing to do, the right thing to teach. Do you see teachers today still teach things that are just totally flawed and totally counterproductive to scoring better?
Well, I don't really get to see it in person, obviously, so I don't
Yeah.
know, but I definitely get to see a lot of stuff on social media where I'm like, "That's wrong." I mean,
Yeah,
that's wrong,
exactly.
that's wrong, that's wrong, and it is interesting because they always just then retort, "Well, this is just it's my opinion," like, and I'm like, "Well, I don't have an opinion. I'm telling you mathematically,
Yeah,
you're wrong. You're welcome
yeah,
to not like it or disagree, but you're just
yeah.
disagreeing with math, so, knock yourself out." I mean, obviously, I've got some sort of a personality glitch where I can't just let people be wrong on the internet, but
And you're famous for that. You've gotten a couple Twitter wars and a
oh,
couple things.
dude. I mean, I've been one in the last couple since Sam Burns hit iron off the tee on 18 last week. This handle Ways to Golf posted that they didn't understand. I'm like, he should be at a minimum hitting 3 wood because Sam Page driver. I mean, I've worked with
Yeah.
Sam for 4 years. Like
Yeah, you
I
know him
know what the
personally.
guy does.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
he should be hitting a little draw 3 wood at a minimum, and he should just be hitting driver for sure. But at a minimum, it's not iron. And this guy's like, he had lost control of his driver. He was overcutting it all day. And I'm like, you understand I have shot link, right? I get into shot link. He piped the driver all day. And the funniest part was the 4 irons he hit off the tee on 1, 4, 8, and 18 were all negative strokes gained driving. Like the irons he hit off the tee were the ones he did terrible. I mean, it's so funny because he piped driver on 13, 14, and 16, and he barely missed the fairway right on 15, whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
he hit 3 of the 4 fairways coming into 18, and 2 of the 4 or 3 of the 4 were in the center stripe. Like, you don't get to just say he's doing this when I can just be like, "No, he's not," and this guy has just doubled down, like,
I
10
know.
times on it, and it's funny because
I know.
I think people think that I'm over here losing my mind. I'm like, "No, I just
No, not
actually
at all. I
I
think just the
really think
opposite.
it's."
I think people think that you're baiting people a little bit, and then they know where this is going. It's gonna end bad. It's
Yeah, I mean,
gonna be a car crash.
I just feel like I'm kinda batting this little kitten around, just, like, having fun.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly. Hey guys, it's Daniel here. Hey, thanks for listening first and foremost. Handicaps haven't changed in over 35 years for one reason and one reason only. Traditional golf instruction just doesn't work. So if you're serious about getting that swing and game that you've always imagined, take a look at our site, IMAGENGolf.com. Join our members only club. Check out my video series or even take a virtual or in-person lesson with me. There is no one who's more passionate about making you better in the industry, and I guarantee you'll golf better, guaranteed, or everything is free.
it's wild to me, though. It's wild how much people can't just say, and I say it all the time, Brad Faxon being another one. If Faxon and I, when we got in our argument about how many putts he left short, if he
Yeah.
had just said, wow, that's really interesting. I can't believe that. That's really interesting. He and I are best friends then. And
Yeah,
instead, he just doubles down with, that's not right. That's not, I'm like, shot link's correct to the inch, dude. I can tell you exactly how many putts you left short. I'm not guessing. And it's not
yeah.
what you think. And instead of just saying, wow, that's interesting, people just double down. They just can't say they're wrong. I mean, I don't even have to say, you don't have to say I'm wrong. You can just say, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's so funny we're talking about this, and Brad Faxton, right? I did a video series, or just a quick little video, and then I did a podcast series on never up, never in, right? And that's all I ever heard growing up, man. And be candid, I know that cost me a lot of tournaments growing up, man, because when if I didn't, I'm not like a Matt Fitzpatrick where I got all my scorecards in plastic boxes, right? But I assure you that I left a lot of strokes on the table because I'm trying to get it to the hole because that's all I knew. And if you want to, if you just want to pick one thing that Scott says, and just validate that, and that kind of validates everything. That's it right there, right? Never up, never in. It's such BS, right? It just it's not even close to being true,
It's not even
right?
close to being true. I mean, again, every time I'm playing Wolf and my opponent has like a 9-footer for birdie, and his partner says, "Hey, next one's good." I'm like, "Awesome. Let's go to the next tee
Exactly.
because this is not going in the hole." I mean, it's just,
That's exactly right.
I mean, again,
Hey,
but to put a ribbon on the Faxon deal, he was on a
yeah,
podcast and said whenever he missed a putt, it was going far enough past the hole, he had to mark the comebacker. So
yeah,
to be fair in that assessment, I counted that as 31 inches, 2.5 feet. From
yeah, fair.
16 to 20 feet, he left 16% of his putts short, and he hit 20% of them more than 31 inches past the hole. So then you can just kind of visualize a bell curve that has those two as the tails, those 2 points as the
Yeah,
tails. And it's just like the vast majority, 60% of your putts, I mean, what is that actually? 65% of your putts, Brad,
yeah,
finish within between the hole and 30 inches long. And
yeah. It's just
it
crazy.
would be a perfect bell curve with those 2 points being, 16% and 20% of the bell curve. The
Right,
rest of it would just be perfect. So, the vast majority of his putts, he probably hit about 15 inches past the hole. That would be kind of the center point.
right. And that's Brad Faxton. Imagine Brad Johnson,
Yeah,
right?
the
With that
best
same
putter on the
philosophy,
planet.
that number triples, right?
Yeah.
Um, hey, speaking of putting, you had talked about maybe coming up with like I think you called it the money zone for putting, right? We do something similar. We do 3, 6, 9, and 12. You added 15 feet, and you talk about like knowing exactly where that zone is. I think that if I would look back and I don't know this to be a fact, I'm sure you do, but most pros probably are if they're separating themselves, it's probably like the 5 to 12-foot range. They're better at that than most. Is that accurate?
The best putters on tour separate themselves the most from 5 to 12 feet. But there's an
Yeah, that's what I
interesting
would
point in
figure.
that. I do
Yeah.
believe that the majority of my data counterparts did not also play to a +7 and, win on the Hooters tour.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm able
fair.
to see into that data, um, just a little bit different than they are. The challenge is when they say the best putters, that's where they separate themselves. The problem is it's just a given they two-putt from 20 to 40 feet.
Yeah,
So, the amateur at home does not two-putt from 20 to 40 feet. So,
right.
their time the tour players' time, they've got so much time, first of all, they're spending a ton of it between 20 and 40 feet to two-putt, and then, yes, they need to really be grinding the 5 to 12 footers. Um, they make all their putts inside of 3 feet. From 3 to 5 feet, you only have 2.5 around, and so even, like, when Zalatoris really struggles on that length putt, he's only 3% worse than tour average. It's not like it's
Yeah.
20%. So the
Yeah, yeah,
3 to
yeah.
5 foot zone, even on tour, doesn't matter that much because they all kind of make the same amount. It's that 5 to 12 feet where line read and speed really starts becoming crucial that the best separate themselves from. So the money zone in the Decade app, we've always had this one, I don't even remember what the name of it is now. It's what
Yeah.
Chris Zambri created while he was the head coach at USC. He's now the head coach at
The
the head
team,
of the
right?
USGA national team. He was
Yeah,
my director of college sales after he quit college golf coaching before the USGA took him from me. He created a combine for his players that is the average length of the 18 starting putts on tour.
right.
And so then you have a score of whatever it is, 29, 29 and a half is the
Yeah,
expectation. I then created based on this idea that 5 to 15 feet is important. where now we've got another combine where it's just 5 to 15 foot putts. So it'll just give you, like you say, 3, 6, 9, 6, or 6, 9, 6, 12, just 18 putts. And you have a strokes gained value that those sum to, and then your score is just going to be plus or minus from that.
Yeah, we have a putt view custom green in one of our facilities, and they have a 36 putting assessment, and it's very similar to that. It gives you a score essentially,
Yeah.
and it's proven, right? You start to work on that score, you're a better putter and you shoot better, right? I mean, it's a no-brainer.
I've had a number of tour players that I've worked with that basically tell me they do all of their fundamentals work away from the course in just a controlled block practice. I have the exact same set. Not even I'm setting it up on the green because there's even room for variance there. I have the
Yeah,
exact same thing in my putting studio at home that I wear out. And then when they get to the course, they've told me they just do the decade speed drills from 20 to 40 feet and then the money zone from 5 to 15 feet. And that's what their practice consists of.
yeah.
The
So let's
thing
talk
about it
about
is,
it is
if you,
super. Go ahead.
I was just say if for the people at home, if you practice into a 10% window, so you start at 20 feet, you put
Right.
you put 2 ball marks in a row out that are 2 feet apart. It's so weird. The camera's opposite, so I keep on moving my hands the wrong way. It's weird. It's like I'm in a mirror. Um, you put a ball mark out and then another one 2 feet away from it, and then another one another foot. So you've got a 3-foot window. You start at 20 feet from the first ball mark, and you're just trying to roll it into the 2-foot window. If you're successful, you move yourself backwards 6 inches, and once you get to the 30-foot mark, you're trying to roll it into a 3-foot window. And just orchestrated, you find as straight as putt as you can, and
Right.
just putting speed practice on that. You'll be stunned at how good you get at it, how quickly you get good at it. And
Yeah.
now if you go out onto the course and from 20 to 40 feet, especially for the amateurs, you should be leaving exactly half of your putt short. Our only goal is to
Yeah.
two putt. And
Right.
if all of a sudden I'm really good at rolling it into a 3-foot window from 30 to 40 feet, and now I'm comfortable leaving half my putt short, I now have a 6-foot window to roll it into, 3 feet short to 3 feet long. And
Yeah.
that's how you, I mean, again, over the course of 3 months, you can knock so many strokes off your game. And what's hard to imagine is you still will make putts. You've made the hole very big for the inner 50% of your putts. Like you still will, not inner 50, inner 20 or 30% on the other side of the hole,
Yeah.
but no one will actually leave 50% short. If you can get it to about 40, that's a pretty good goal. It is really hard to beat 50-50. You'll still accidentally make putts, but 3-putting will just evaporate. And if you can 2-putt from 20 to 40 feet, this game becomes so simpler,
Yeah.
not as hard.
Yeah, you know what else happens, man? I see this with our students all the time. The comments they make are the same. Um, First of all, everyone says they're bad at reading greens, right? Not true, right? And then when they start worrying about speed way more and they get better at it, even if they are not as good as reading the greens as they could be, they got a 6-inch tap in. They got an 8-inch tap in, right? So who cares, right? You're tapping it in from 12 feet. You had a 12-foot putt. You missed it by 6 inches. Yeah, maybe you misread it. You just 2-putted from 12 feet. All right,
I mean,
done. Fantastic.
it just circles back to a 12-footer on tour. The make rates. I mean, it's one. God, I can't. I need some readers. 1 point. I mean, you just don't make any. 15-footers 1.78. So a 15-footer is 20% on tour.
Yeah, I mean, come
You
on
just
now, what are we talking about? And by the way, the same we did another podcast on if you wanna hit more greens in regulation, right? Stop shooting the pin and start shooting the back fringe of the green, right? And just use that number, right? This is not that hard. Just if you just did that alone and then you hit your normal shot, if you flushed it, you're okay, congrats, you're on the back edge of the green. If you miss hit it just a little bit, like most amateurs do, including myself, now you're in the middle of the green. So just when you said it out loud, it's so simple, but yet so many people don't buy into it and they won't do it. It just blows me away. What do you think? Why is it that people resist so much, you think?
Well, I totally agree with what you're saying. The only pushback I give on it is the fact that giving generic advice when people will take it onto specific holes is difficult. Well, I mean, what if the green's
Fair.
50 yards deep? That's the
Yeah,
only thing I ever push back on. I
that's
always feel
fair.
like I'm being decade salesy by saying you really have to just learn the process
Yeah,
because
that's
what you're
fair.
saying is correct. But it's the
Right.
fact that golf is the only sport in the world that's not played on a uniform. Every soccer field's the
Yeah.
same, every football field's the
Yeah,
same.
yeah, yeah. Fair.
That's the only reason that doesn't really hold up. But as generic advice, it's 100% spot on. I mean,
Yeah.
again, that's why
Yeah.
middle of the
If
greens.
you know your course though, it like, if I know my local course, right? And to your point, hey, I can't do that on hole 5 because the green slopes the other way or whatever, right? I get that. But to your point, the guy that's a double digit, is handicap that's you know the numbers better than I do, but 80% of the guys that I see come up short more than they come up long, right?
On tour, they do. I mean, again, this is what's funny
Yeah.
is there used to be a saying back when you and I were trying to play that was nobody keeps their card from long. But that sentence needs a comma, but
Yeah,
nobody
that's
goes long too
hysterical.
much. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the best iron players get the most second shots past the hole in regulation. I mean, that's just the way it works. A guy like Zach Blair, whose numbers I ran a couple years ago, he only gets 35%, whereas DJ's hovering at 43%. If you take the exact same shot pattern, 'cause it's not like Zach Blair mishits it, and just
yeah,
move it 3 yards further into the green, you're just taking 3 yards off your average proximity. Like, it really is pretty much that straightforward. And so it really
yeah,
does come down to especially amateur. So the example is if my 8 iron, if I hit it perfect, is 150. If I'm 145 to the front and 152 to the pin, it feels like a perfect 8 iron, but if I mishit it at all, I'm coming up short, let alone if I
yeah,
mishit it bad, I'm well short. Whereas taking a 7 iron that's like 162 or 3 and trying to take just a little bit off of it, but not much, honestly. If I hit it perfect, yeah, I'm probably gonna have 30 feet coming back. But there's also a decent chance I'm gonna mishit it some. I'm not gonna accidentally hit it 170.
yeah,
And that's
exactly.
the problem is if it takes a perfect shot to get to the pin, that's probably not the right club. And so you've got to think of like a Venn diagram where you've got these overlapping circles. You have to think of that in like distance control.
Yeah,
I was on a video with Frankie from the Foreplay from Barstool a couple years ago, and they made a
yeah,
great image where they just laid in a Venn diagram over over two clubs, a 7 iron and an 8 iron, and just illustrated like, yes, the 8 iron's perfect if you catch it, but if you don't, I mean, again, as a bad of a player as he is, sorry, Frankie, he's coming up 30 yards short. And so the 7 iron's just not going to do that, but he's never going to accidentally hit it 30 yards long either.
yeah. It's interesting. We'll talk about the app in 1 second. You do a lot of great videos. I don't think you get enough positive press for your videos, man. You did a video. I'm a PXG staff pro, and big fan of Jake Knapp's. And when he threw up that 59, man, I remember I record everything, and I remember sitting down with a couple beers and watching it. It was amazing to watch that round, if you would. And then you did a video on that was even better than just watching it. I highly recommend it. What made you think, "Hey, you know what? This guy just threw up a 59." Did you say, "Hey, this proves, our theory even more?" What were your thoughts on that one?
Well, I'd already done it on Jim Furyk. So when Furyk shot 58,
Oh, that's right. That's
so
right.
when Furyk shot 58, the way I consider this, what I'm going to talk about here is if the pin is 4 yards from the left edge and you hit it to 1 foot, but on the left side of the flag, short sided is technically you missed the green left. But
Yeah.
I'm saying you hit it a foot from the hole on the green, but on the short side of it. When Furyk shot 58, his ball was on the fat side of the pin 14 of 18 times.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, it's just he just happened to have a little bit of positive variance with it finishing slightly closer to the hole than maybe his target was, and then he fell
Right.
asleep with the putter. I knew Jake Knapp would be that. It's just you you can't get away with it for 18 straight holes, and you definitely can't get away with it for 72 straight holes,
Yeah.
firing at every single flag. And so it typically is just very obvious. And Jake's a guy that attended my seminar when he was in college, so
Right.
I have no idea if he's thought about it since, to be
Right.
clear. But most guys, once they see it, they're like, "Man, that makes sense." And at a minimum, it impacts their thinking for the rest of their career. And I just knew. And so going in there and getting into ShotLink and everything, being like, "Yeah, it's just he shot 59, but again, you just it's just so straightforward when you look at it and you kind of think it through a lens of maybe he wasn't aiming at the flag, but he kept hitting it close."
Yeah. It's a lesson, man. I mean, if you watch that video, you will have an appreciation for not only what Scott does, but just it's a total validation because you walk through, you weren't there, right? You're not in the mind of him, but what you say, it almost feels like you knew exactly what he was going to do, and it's a pretty amazing watch, man.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
the video or the app is amazing, right?
Thank you.
I remember when it first came out. It is night and day from when it first came out. Uh, right?
My creation skills haven't gotten any better from an aesthetic standpoint, but
That's not true, man. The little
yeah,
Scott in the bottom left, man, of the video, I kinda like that, where you're
yeah,
talking and
yeah,
stuff. It reminds me of, some college videos I used to see, man. So, but walk us through, like, It can't like nothing. Some of the greatest ideas, greatest inventions, greatest theories, and all they all fall. Some of them fall on debt. They just never make it to, let's just say, the public or retail. I'm sure you've had tons and trials of tribulations going through this journey of yours. Walk us through, like, what were some of the biggest challenges you had? Not necessarily maybe technology issues, but just total issues with regards to making Decades what it is today.
It's just been kind of fun labor of love, honestly. My
Yeah.
programmer, my business partner, he's good at what he does.
Right.
Again, if there's any one complaint we get is that the UI, UX, I think that's the user interface, user
Yeah.
experience,
Yeah. Yeah.
isn't the greatest. And to be perfectly honest, the reason that is because we've just tried to cram too much into one app instead of releasing more and more apps. Like
Yeah.
when we first created, it's just statistics and video content. Like that's all that was in there. Then we added free yardage books. Then we added the driving targets feature, which allows you to see the hole from the satellite view. With
Yeah.
the first apps that did that just gave you a point, like it's this far to this point. And when I saw someone using it, however many years ago, I was like, well, that's cool, but it needs to tell you how wide it is right there. And so then
Right.
I was like, I built that. And it really is just then adding in combines. And so it's gotten a little. Again, it's just like there's too much in it. But what's interesting is with now the AI tools, again, if you're in school for programming right now, man, you're in trouble because
I know, right?
my programmer, we literally were using some program called Lovable, some AI
Yeah.
programming tool.
Yeah, it does it all for you.
We literally gave it the prompt. We
Yeah.
want to build a golf statistics and strategy app that is more focused on video learning than the statistics, and we want it to look like Netflix.
Yeah.
Enter. It did it perfectly first
Right.
iteration. We had to ask
Yeah.
it to move one button from here to there,
Yeah.
and we're just finishing up now how to make that work with the mobile version. It's incredible. So I really if there's one thing, there's tons of great stats apps out there. I mean, stats are generic.
Yeah.
It's just not difficult. Data
Yeah.
collection, there's different ways we do it, but at the end of the day, data collection is just messy. Like, it's just hard to do when you're entering it yourself. Even if you're using like Arco sensors, you still have to go in and touch up the data. If you're near the edge of the fairway in a bunker, the lengths of your putts, like, it's not like it just does it for you. You still
Yeah.
have to do something after the round. But I think people have lost sight that the point of Decade is to teach you to score. The only reason I partnered with a stats app was because I thought, if I can track what people are doing with their shots, I'll be able to find the strategic mistakes they make. And then I can send them content every week that's like, hey, I've noticed you bogeyed a bunch of par fives in your last tournament. Here's some content that might help you next time around. And I just knew that if I just sold a video series, everyone would just watch it once and then be done with it. But having it partnered with a stats app to where it's constantly feeding you information based on your scores. And so, long story long, I did not include strokes gained driving and approach the first 4 years of the app. Eventually, the Pac-12 coaches all said they wanted it because they wanted to share data. Now, if we've got 7 teams, 35 players in an event, and they're sharing data, well, then strokes gained driving and approach for that event would probably be pretty relevant. Um,
Yeah.
but for the average amateur playing at home, there's just a number of flaws, and the easiest way to explain that is, let's say a 400-yard hole plays with a scoring average of 4. Not a scoring average of 4. That's what it is generically on tour. It's 3.99. But
Right.
now we've got a par 4 that is 100 yards wide with no bunkers or anything, and the green's flat. That hole's gonna play less than 4. Whereas if
For
we had
sure.
a hole that has a 1-yard wide fairway with OB on both sides, that hole's gonna play considerably over 4.
Right.
When you're just using generic benchmarks, those 2, approach and driving, just fall apart. So once I put it in the app, I didn't like doing it, but then honestly, I just kind of forgot about it for a couple years. And once
Right.
I started getting closer to turning 50 and started playing more golf myself and tracking my stats, it kept on pointing out like, oh, these are totally, totally wrong. Like, they're just stupid. And so I created another version of data entry where it's super easy now. You record your Tiger 5 that you mentioned earlier, which, just by entering your score, it's how many bogeys on par 5s, how many doubles. So those are automatically done just by entering your score.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
many 3 putts? Well, I do wanna see the starting, length of your first putt and how many total putts you had. Strokes gained putting's pretty good, and even if it's not necessarily correct because it's a self-reported statistic and you keep on saying a 7-footer's 9 feet, like, if you're doing it the same each time, which you should be, strokes gained putting works pretty well to where you can see if your number's getting bigger or smaller.
Right.
and then bogeys inside 150 and 2 chips. So you have to enter just a couple of data points, and then greens in regulation and penalties off the tee. And through combinations of those, that we've lost sight of the point of statistics. The point of statistics is to tell you what to work on, not to give you some touchy-feely, "I gained 3 off the tee today." Like, you probably didn't. If you think you gained 3 against the tour, you're crazy. You
Yeah.
did something wrong. It's to tell you, "Here's the weakness in your game." And then now Decade, because of what its point is, I can still tell you what to work on, and then I'm also gonna have a much more actionable, piece of data to tell you, "Here's the Tiger 5 mistake you keep making. Here's the penalty rate off the tee. Here's your putting leave short, long rate." It's just a much better way of tracking stats because, again, strokes gained driving and approach in my opinion, they're basically useless.
Yeah. It's amazing that we're having this conversation, man, because, I remember back, I'm not even kidding you, it was probably 20 years ago. I was at a corporate event. Remember when, like, and he may still do it for all I remember when Hank Haney used to do these corporate events, and he'd have, like, all these golf balls, teed up for him, and he'd be talking to, like, 25 of us, that won a President's Club trip or whatever, and he's spouting out all this stuff. Meanwhile, he's not even setting up, and he's crushing these golf balls. It was a pretty cool presentation. But he talked about, like, if you just track 3 things, penalty strokes, right? 2 chips and 3 putts. If you just track those for a couple rounds, it does exactly what you just said. It says, "Hey, this is the part of the game that you need to work on," right? The most. And that's pretty generic, if you will. There's not really any incredible stats behind that. It's
Yeah.
just a little bit on the scorecard, for 4 weeks in a row or whatever, but you'll be a better golfer because of it. You're just essentially taking that to the nth degree, right? You've talked about, like, the hundreds of spreadsheets and formulas that you use to crunch and stuff, right? And you got that all now for people in an app that, look, you gotta be a little bit data centric, right? I don't know, and you'll tell me if you're a 30 handicapper, right? Plus the or my minus 30. I don't know if this is actually the app for you, right? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You
No,
tell me. Yeah.
it's it's certainly like a 10-ish or better's
Yeah.
ready for
That's
it,
what I would
but
figure.
I think a 15 that wants to get better,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
best
yeah.
analogy I've come up with is I had blood pressure issues right after having COVID. I was a
Right,
36 handicap cardiologist, but after however many stress tests and EKGs and hours of
right,
podcast and blah,
right,
blah, blah, I'm now a scratch cardiologist. If you gave me
right.
your blood work, I could tell you which med to take, and then I could tweak it. You
By the way, you
still
didn't
want
want that education. You had no desire to have that. I had a
0.
similar thing. I didn't
Yeah.
need that education on blood work at
No.
all.
No, but I mean, you still wouldn't want me to have a scalpel in my hand and be like, "Well, I know a bunch about this stuff. I'm gonna cut you open now."
That's
I'm not
exactly
that, but
right.
the 15, just by understanding how a
Yeah,
professional golfer thinks, it can't make you worse, and the best way of thinking that is, well, first of all, Zalatoris literally dropped 2 shots from his
yeah,
senior year of high school to his freshman year of college.
yeah,
I mean, that's a monumental improvement when you're already averaging 71 and a half.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it didn't come from getting better, it just came from learning how to score. I mean, at the end of the day, he had Zalatoris is such a great ball striker and such a bad putter that he was out there all the time trying to make birdies with his second shots as
Mm,
opposed to, and it's this weird paradox. Sorry, Will, if you're listening too. You got a great audience. Will especially in high school, Will was such a bad putter. Paradoxically, I want him putting as soon as possible
yeah.
because he's going to lag it closer than he's going to chip it.
Mm,
The majority of his birdies are gonna come from when he accidentally stuffs it. Well, you're still gonna stuff shots even by not aiming at the flag,
yeah.
and then birding the par fives. I mean, the idea of you're gonna stuff shots when not aiming at the flag. He hit a hole in one in the 2020 US Open, and he actually hit another one that bounced off the flag the same day. He almost had 2 hole in ones in the same day, but Sean Martin, the PGA Tour staff writer, tweeted, "Zalatoris just hit a hole in one, and the only thing Fawcett's gonna wanna talk about is the fact it wasn't his target." So I sent Will a text. I was like, "What was your target?" And he said 7 right. So I just retweeted
Exactly.
that. I'm like, "Well, it wasn't. That's important information." I mean,
Yeah, man.
it's if there's one thing that I do think I've said that I've never heard anyone else say in golf is when I was playing professionally, I would not an idiot. Like if I'm 240 and the pin's 5 from a hazard, I know to aim left center that green, but
Yeah,
then I would aim over there and I would hope I push it. Every tour player that I've worked with literally says they do that 8 or 9 times around. So by
yeah,
definition, the shots we're aiming slightly away from the flag are because they're slightly longer or the surrounding hazards are difficult. It's a hard shot and we're aiming away from the flag, but then hoping we pull it. I'd rather you just aim it and commit to the target, because that's where, again, your biggest misses come from. So I had just personally never heard anyone say, you really need to try to put it where you're aiming. On the range, you've never aimed to the flag with a 7-iron and thought, I hope I pull this 6 yards.
Yeah.
You've never done that a single time, and then we do it all the time out on the golf course. It's wild to me.
It is wild. My wife and I had a chance to walk with Ricky and Harris English inside the ropes on Mother's Day this year,
Nice.
and at Cricket Club. So I'm 6 feet away. I'm to your earlier point that you said earlier in the pod. We're listening to every comment the two of them make back and forth, right? And I was amazed at not only the level of detail that they have, right, and the banter back and forth between the caddy and player, but not only does the ball go exactly where they want it, but there's also big misses that I was shocked about. And I was like, oh my God, man. I was like a kid in a candy shop because I'd never been that up close and personal through an actual tournament. It's not like we were just playing, our local course, or some, corporate event. They were actually in a tournament, for God's sake. Right. And then the fact that, Ricky, who played amazing tee to green, could not sink a putt to save his life, and he's not even remotely in contention then because of that.
Yeah.
It was an incredible experience, man. You're big on preparation. No shock there, right? You're big on preparation before a round and then post a round. What would you say to the amateur? Let's just talk when we say amateur, the 15 guy, the 15 player, right, that we just talked about. What would you say to that person that probably doesn't do any pre-round preparation, right? And the post is probably having a beer and remembering what they did and the shots they missed on 16 and 11 and stuff. What would you say to that individual on how to change their pre and post preparation, if you would, to get better, like immediately?
Well, there's a guy with the handle, I think it's Ways to Golf, that I've been DMing with. Apparently, he lives in Dallas also. We've been talking about playing, and I just noticed earlier he posted he broke 90 for the first time shooting 88 here at Royal Oaks.
Wow.
And, I just sent him a text. I was like, let's get on a webinar sometime soon, and I'm gonna give you some stuff to work on for 3 weeks, and
Right.
then I'll get you out to my home course, and we'll crush that score. And the things I'm gonna tell him to do are just work on shaping driver one way, just understanding we're gonna get it moving the direction we want it to. And then I'm gonna have him basically do those lag speed drills from 20 to 40 feet. I mean, that's all there is to it. So preparation, if again, assuming we're talking about your home course, you probably know
Yeah.
your home course fairly well. But now let's say we're gonna go play a member guest somewhere else.
Right.
I do believe you get into the Decade app, hopefully, obviously, and use our
Yeah.
driving targets feature, or just getting on the satellites. Just get on Google Chrome. You don't even need Earth. Get in Google Chrome and just look at the golf course. Look at how far it is to the dog legs, how wide it is at the dog legs, and then just start figuring out what club you're going to hit off the tee, rather than just getting out there and just like pulling driver. I mean, it's probably driver. I'm a proponent of hitting driver as often as possible, so I probably shouldn't have said that way. But
Yeah.
uh, what are we aiming at? Luke from Golf Digest put out a video that's pretty cool. I watched it a little bit this morning because somebody tagged me for comment in it, and it was talking about Tiger's tee shot strategy and how he kept his penalty rate so low. He missed he basically missed the exact same amount of fairways left and right through whatever this portion of his career was. And the amount
Right.
of people that were in the comments saying, that's really surprising as a two-way miss. He hasn't eliminated one side of the course. I'm like, he has eliminated one side of the course,
Yeah.
whichever side of the course the penalty's on. And he aims away
Exactly
from
right.
it. That's if you have somebody, again, th- if there's one misnomer, it's the idea of I've eliminated one side of the course.
Right.
Anytime somebody says that who knows what they're talking about, what they've actually are saying is I've eliminated the double cross.
Right.
David Duval, I've got a video in the app of him on TV saying, I think as a right-handed player, it's really good to just be able to line it up down the left-hand side and just rip it and know it's not going left. I've been fortunate enough to work with David now since he's been out on the Champions Tour, and we've discussed
Right.
that exactly. And I'm like, you realize what you're saying there is you just don't double cross it. And he's like, to be perfectly honest, I'd never really thought of it that way.
Yeah.
And again, just cleaning up that language allows you to do things far more committed, because now it's like, oh, yeah, obviously, if there's a lake on the right, I'm gonna move it my target. Yeah, so, yes, I hit it in the left rough. It's not like he ever actually believed that, but it
Right.
really is about, again, Duval just faded every single driver when he was the best player in the world. I mean, he was probably the first. What's funny is you get guys with a strong grip like DJ or Duval or whoever. When you and I were growing up, it was like, "Oh, that's a hooker's grip," and then the weak grip, it's gonna create a fade. You go find me with someone with any speed whatsoever that has a strong grip that doesn't fade it and can play, I'll give you $1,000. I mean, I won't
No,
actually
it's
do
true,
that,
man.
but
These guys can move though, right? I mean, they can their bodies move like no I mean, they're the elite for elite. When I get up, like we work with 2 guys that are on the Corn Ferry Tour. We work with 2 professional long drivers. It's a different coaching session, man. These guys, their bodies move differently, right?
Well, I just think
And
it's funny how many people, like, can't, like, again, I'm 6'1", 225, and I mean, like,
yeah,
I just find it funny how many people my age cannot do that.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
again, there's a reason I've been good at golf for 52 years, like,
yeah,
my body can do things, but to your point, Scotty Scheffler, there's this picture someone had of him on 18T this week, where his
yeah,
arm is so high, and it just everything looks so weird in it. I can't do that. I mean, and so if I'm
yeah,
gonna go out there and be like, "I'm gonna model Scotty Scheffler swing," like, good luck. That's not gonna happen,
yeah.
dude. You need to find John Rahm or someone else that's built a little bit more like you are. But that's good coaching on your part, is like, if there's one thing I think modern golf instruction has nailed over prior years, is that anything can work. It's matchups. That's, to me, a huge shift in Bryson, weakest grip on tour, hits a
Yeah.
draw. DJ, strongest grip on tour, hits a fade, but everything else in their swing allows those things to happen. DJ's completely cleared at impact. Bryson's more square. I mean,
Yeah.
just there's certain things that if you yeah, anything can work, but you get yourself a strong grip and your body position and hips are where Bryson's are at impact, good luck.
Yeah, it's one of the things that people say about our lessons all the time. We go through the same process with everybody. A lot of people come, have already taken lessons, obviously, right? And we don't start with the traditional build your stance from the ground up. Let me look at your grip. Let me do that. Let's change this before I even see you hit. We have people hit multiple shots with multiple clubs. We get a baseline of what they're doing, how their body is actually moving within the confines of that golf swing. We analyze. I'm a Titleist level 3 instructor, so we analyze. I can look at somebody and tell immediately they can't rotate their hips, man. So that's out, right? And then we look at the data, and then based on all that stuff, then we say, okay, this is the challenge that you have. This is the biggest miss, using Hank Haney's term, if you would, right? And this is what we're going to work on, and we're only going to work on that, right? And I could care less about your weak grip, your strong grip, or all that, because that's not the biggest issue yet. Right? Once we get a better baseline of what your swing can look like, then yeah, maybe we'll make some of those adjustments. But for now, we're only going to work on X, because X is all that matters right now.
Well,
And
that's
pe- people are blown away. They're like, "Really? You're not? I'm okay with this super strong grip. I'm okay with standing like this." And I'm like, "Yeah, for now, you are okay. Go for it."
but again, that's the evolution, in my opinion, of modern instruction. So like I say, I met Como, I mean, 20 years ago, and so he was
Right?
not Chris Como at the time, and we were working on my game, and what's funny is the amount of time that we spent trying to get, this is all Tiger, trying to get this leg to post and this, this
Yeah.
position at impact, whereas I was far more like, a Mickelson or somebody, where that's
Right.
just not what I was doing, but the amount of time we spent trying to get my right leg up, I remember telling him, "Come on, I don't even understand what muscles are firing to make that happen, like, that's not my
Much
finger."
less do it.
Yeah, but we spent 2 years looking at Grant Waite and Rod Pampling swing on camera. It's like, but again, obviously,
Yeah,
that's why
man.
Cohen was a great instructor. "Oh,
Oh
shoot,
yeah.
there's not
Yeah.
model. I need to be able to hit everybody. I've got
Yeah.
Jason Day, I've got Xander, I've got Bryson,
Yeah.
3
Yeah. Yeah.
completely different swings." And that's what modern golf instruction to me is really, really done well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's almost an endorsement of us. I know you're not saying that, but it's
No,
almost an endorsement of what we do.
that's what you do. It 100% is.
Hey, Scott, listen, man, the app is amazing. If our listeners want, we're going to drop a promo code Imagine down the bottom, and they can get a discount on the app. You actually give, I think, you still give 7 days free, I think, too, right?
I have no idea, honestly.
Yeah, I think you do, man. But it's an amazing app. I highly recommend it. I also highly recommend you check out his YouTube page, man. There's a ton of great activity on there and great videos that just will make you think differently about stats, right? Make you think differently about the application of stats. And for me, it just validated even more. I knew I'm a big data guy now, more so than I could ever imagine. If it's not evidence based, if it's not data centric, we don't buy into it, and we don't teach it, man. So the Decade app fits in perfect. I'm going to commit to it. I think that we didn't talk about that, but next time we have you on, we'll talk about that. It does take a level of commitment to really see the full gains. But no different than anything else, right? You can't go to the gym once every 17 days and expect to look great. Um,
Well, I
but
think
I'm going to,
one of the sayings that I think is awesome is, do your habits match your goals?
yeah,
I mean, and again, because if they don't, you're just setting yourself up for frustration. So yeah, I mean, it takes work. What's interesting is everyone thinks they should have shot lower every time they play, but then they
yeah,
don't put any work into that part of the game. They
100%.
just show up and
I
do the
say it all the time.
I just laugh
Yeah,
at looking back at my career in my 20s, like, I would talk about all the dumb stuff I did every single night and then put 0
yeah,
effort. I do believe I probably just thought I just need to get better to stop
yeah,
making bogeys with wedges, not, "Hey, you could just aim a few yards right of the flag and eliminate that short-sighted miss." It never crossed my mind that you're not going to get so good at ball striking that that you're not just taking on every flag inside 150. That never crossed my mind, and that's, again, the main thing that to what you were talking about earlier, the Tiger 5. When you finish a round of golf and you go through the Tiger 5, again, bogeys on par 5s, doubles, 3 putts, bogey inside 150, 130 for females or seniors, and, 2 chips. If you go through your round and think you should have shot lower and it's not one of those 5 things, you're kidding yourself. But more
yeah,
importantly, after your round, you're gonna have a bunch of those. I missed getting Champions Tour status by 3 shots last year, and I was averaging 4 of those per round. They're not anomalies. And
yeah.
so after the round, you gotta think, was there anything strategically or commitment-wise or discipline-wise I could have done different to eliminate that? Or was it just a bad shot? Because that happens. And
Yeah.
then that's when you start kinda, like, rubbing your nose in it, and you'll stop making those mistakes, and that's really, again, the goal of the decade app.
Yeah, I remember having a golf coach, his whole, like, words of wisdom were just hit better shots, and I that that used to, like, I used to try to internalize that, like, you stand over the ball and you're like, "Okay, Daniel, you got this, just hit a better shot," and then now when I look back at it, I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me, man. That's what they were paying this coach to say, just hit better shots? Go to the range and work on" that was the other thing, "Go to the range and work it out like Stan Snead used to." I'm like,
I
what are
think
we talking about here?"
I
You
think that's
know?
the hardest part for the guy who's struggling but kind of successful on the mini tours, is
Yeah.
they just see 1 or 2 shots around that cost them, and they're like, "God, if I just didn't hit
Yeah,
those 2 shots, I
100%.
wanna be like, oh, so if you were better."
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you just need to get better, but also then
Yeah.
maybe there's something strategically we can do, so.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the general handicapper, General Joe, right? I mean, I could take someone from shooting 100 to 80 in 3 weeks, right? And then 80 to 70 is a huge challenge, right? Or 80 to 75 is a huge challenge, right? And then 75 to 72 is way beyond that, and I think golfers lose track of I know they lose track of that as well. It takes another level of commit right now, we back into the goals, if you would. So Scott says to us, "Hey, I want to be a par shooter, scratch golfer." Okay, well, let's back into that. What does that look like? How much can you practice? What are you doing, right? What are you tracking? If those answers are not this, and this, or that, and that, then we just look at them and we say, look, I don't care what your other instructors are telling you. You're never going to do it. You are
Yeah.
not going to play yourself from an 80 to a 72 and hit practice once a week and just hit balls, go through your bag or whatever. It's not happening, man.
Well, and that's, I mean, again, I qualified for the US Mid-Am last year as a 52-year-old, and I would love to get in contention one time, but I need to be about a +6. Well, that means I'm gonna
Right.
need to practice a lot. I'm gonna need to get better at flop shots. I'm gonna need to not suck out of
Yeah.
the bunker. Like, I just don't have time or honestly desire for that. So, where I used to frustrate, and I hate saying, like, it's just fun playing in it, and I can make match play if I play well and maybe win a match or 2, but, like, I'm not gonna go beat Stuart Hagestad
Yeah.
just coming out of the office, and it is dropping back and accepting that. Now as I get closer to 55, I'll wanna get my game in shape because I do believe I can win the US Senior Amateur, and
Yeah. Be
so
fun.
that's the kind of
Yeah, it'd
stuff
be fun.
it's, again, adjust your goals to what your habits, will allow.
Yeah. Well, Scott, thank you. Look, we're gonna have to have you back, man. I know why you do multiple appearances on podcasts now because we could talk golf for a long time. And it looks like you enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm sure it's gonna go over well. He's Scott Fawcett, Decade Golf. I don't even have to even say your name anymore, and people know who you are.
Yeah.
It was great to run into you at the PGA show. What'd you think of the show? Did you like the show this year?
Yeah, I mean, I basically was just stuck in my booth the whole time, so
Yeah, exactly. Shaking hands and kissing babies.
I mean, it's funny though, because it is nice because basically my job is just sitting here making videos, dealing with nonsense on social media. It is nice to go out there and just have 2 straight days where it's just like people come at me like, "You've really changed my game." Some even, "You've changed my
Yeah.
life." it's 2 days of nothing but positivity, and it
Yeah.
like refreshes my soul. So I'm gonna do that show every single year from now on because I just need it.
Yeah, I witnessed it. I was up front and close. Scott and I were talking. Two young kids were standing there like kids in a candy shop, and you were kind enough to acknowledge them. And that's exactly what they said. Hey, I'm a collegiate golfer. I've been, and they needed a selfie from you, and they needed an autograph from you. And I'm like, hey, man, you
That
made
was
it. You obviously have made it, man. That was
that was
fantastic.
I was about to say the funniest thing in my life is my old roommate and guy that I traveled with when I was playing professionally. He came walking up. He's now the head pro at St. Louis Country Club, and he came walking up with a couple of his assistants just to say hi, right at the exact same time that maybe those kids or other kids were asking for a selfie. And so I'm posing with a selfie, and I'm looking like, and I'm like, I'm never gonna hear the end of this, and I have not yet.
I get the same from my kids, man. We have almost 500,000 followers across all social media, and
That's
I'm busting
amazing.
their chops all the time. I'm like, you never thought in a million years your dad would be an influencer, and they're like, Dad, stop, just stop, right? Well, Scott, thank you
Fantastic.
so much for doing this. I know you're a busy guy, man. We'll have you back on soon, and I'll drop the promo code in the show notes here for Decade Golf. Scott, thanks again, man. It was been a blast.
Thank you.
All right, then. That's today's podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the follow button wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check out our site, imagengolf.com. Check out our YouTube page at Imagine Golf, and we're on all the social media platforms on the same at Imagine Golf. And here's to getting you the swing and the game that you've always imagined.